Notorious Global TV. I am Christiana Babayo. Before the news, here are the headlines. Rivers Chief Judge rejects Assembly demand for Fubara impeachment panel. UN sounds the alarm over imminent collapse of aid for millions in Northeast. Notorious bandit leader Bello Turji on the run as military crackdown peaks. Opposition party blasts Tinubu over renewed wave of Kaduna abductions. Federal government to fast-track trial of 5,000 terror suspects with new DNA technology. Ogun government suspends Ajiwale selection amid petitions and security fears. ADC chieftain clashes over Atiku's potential 2027 presidential run. And now the news. The Chief Judge of Rivers State, Justice Chibuzo Simeon Amadi, has refused to constitute a panel to investigate allegations of gross misconduct against Governor Siminalayi Fubara and his deputy, Professor Ngozi Odu, effectively stalling impeachment efforts by the Rivers State House of Assembly. The constitutional mandated impeachment process had been initiated by lawmakers in early January, who unanimously passed a resolution on January 8 to probe alleged budgetary breaches and other conduct issues involving the governor and his deputy. The Assembly later reaffirmed its intent to proceed with the inquiry on January 16, 2026. However, on January 20th, Justice Amadi issued a formal letter to Speaker Martin Ameule explaining that his office is legally barred from accepting or acting on any impeachment notice because of interim court injunctions obtained by both Fubara and Odu. These injunctions, arising from separate suits filed in the Rivers State High Court, expressly restrain the Chief Judge from receiving or forwarding any impeachment documents until the underlying legal disputes are resolved. Justice Amadi cited the doctrine of lis pedens, which requires all parties and courts to maintain the status quo once an appeal is filed, noting that the House of Assembly has appealed the interim court orders at the Court of Appeal, Port Harcourt Division. He said compliance with existing court directives is essential to uphold constitutionalism and the rule of law. The United Nations World Food Programme (WFP) has warned that more than 1 million people in northeast Nigeria could soon be cut off from emergency food and nutrition assistance unless urgent new funding is secured as humanitarian aid resources run critically low. The alert comes amid one of the most severe hunger crises in the region in recent memory, driven by prolonged conflict, mass displacement, and deteriorating agricultural productivity. The WFC's latest projection indicate that without additional donor support, its assistance will be drastically reduced from previous levels, limiting support to approximately 72,000 people in the coming weeks, down sharply from over a million beneficiaries. The Northeast, which includes states such as Borno, Adamawa, and Yobe, has borne the brunt of insurgency-related food insecurity, with millions displaced from their homes and unable to sustain livelihoods. According to recent assessments, nearly 35 million Nigerians risk acute food insecurity in 2026, with thousands at risk of catastrophic hunger, a level not seen in at least a decade. WFP officials have called for urgent replenishment of humanitarian funds to avert widespread hunger, underscoring that expanded violence and ongoing barriers to food production have compounded existing vulnerabilities. The Nigerian military has reported that Bello Turji, one of the country's most notorious bandit kingpins, is under intense pressure in a state of panic and frequently relocating due to coordinated security operations across the northwest region. The update was provided on Wednesday, January 21st by Major General Wara Idris, Theater Commander of Joint Task Force Northwest Operation Fansanyama. Turji has long been linked to mass kidnappings, cattle rustling, village attacks, and other violent crimes in rural communities. According to military officials, intensified ground offensives supported by human intelligence and technology-driven surveillance have disrupted his ability to maintain a permanent base, forcing him and other armed group leaders to relocate every few hours or days to evade capture. The military has dismissed assertions that the bandit leader controls any local government area or territory, describing such narratives as propaganda intended to exaggerate its influence. The commander challenged claims of territorial control, urging Turji to identify a specific area under his authority. Troops are actively pursuing Turji along with other high-profile armed group figures across Zamfara and neighboring states, with operations described as sustained and systematic. The People's Democratic Party (PDP) has criticized sharply the federal government's silence and initial denials by security officials regarding a mass kidnapping of worshippers in Kurmin Wali community, Kajuru local government area, Kaduna State. The opposition party is demanding urgent government action to secure the safe return of abducted victims and to restore public confidence in security governance. The PDP's National Publicity Secretary said the party is alarmed that the federal government has failed to respond decisively following reports that gunmen seized approximately 163 worshippers from three churches in late January, a situation that has sparked shock and fear across southern Kaduna. The party also criticized the federal government and state police command for initially dismissing reports of the abduction, calling the denials shameful and a dangerous pattern that obscures the truth. PDP officials demanded that the federal government deploy a high powered security team to trace, rescue, and safely return the abductees to their families, reiterating that government must prioritize solutions over public image. We will now go on a short break, and when we come back, the news will continue. Stay tuned.
The Papyrus Global, we don't just cover events, we create cinematic experiences. From red carpets to birthdays, gala dinners, and your fairy tale weddings, we bring your moments to life with high-tech precision. Our gadgets are smarter, our lenses sharper, and our team simply world-class. Trust the Papyrus Global to tell your story in the boldest, brightest way possible.
Welcome back, and now the news will continue. The federal government has announced a major shift in its counter-terrorism strategy by moving to fast-track the prosecution of approximately 5,000 individuals suspected of terrorism-related offenses and introducing DNA profiling and biometric data into national security operations as part of broader judicial reforms. The initiative, outlined in strategic documents from the National Counterterrorism Center (NCTC) and endorsed by the Office of the National Security Advisor (ONSA), seeks to clear a significant backlog of terrorism cases that have accumulated in pretrial detention facilities across the country. Authorities said the lack of timely prosecutions has hindered efforts to deliver justice and strengthen national security. Under the new plan, terrorism cases will be reviewed in collaboration with the Defense Headquarters, the Federal Ministry of Justice, and judiciary partners to either proceed to trial or dismiss charges where evidence is insufficient. The strategy is part of the 2025-2030 National Counterterrorism Strategy and aims to improve the efficiency of prosecutions and deterrence of terrorist activity nationwide. A key component of the reform is the establishment of a centralized national database on terrorism to be housed within ONSA, which will incorporate DNA profiles and other biometric data alongside intelligence on known and suspected terrorists. The database is intended to support law enforcement, help track repeat offenders, and enhance intelligence sharing among security agencies. The Ogun State government has again suspended the selection process to fill the vacant Ajiwale and paramount ruler of Ijebu's too, citing mounting petitions from stakeholders, reports from security agencies, and concerns about maintaining public order and integrity in the traditional selection exercise. The directive issued by the Commissioner for Local Government and Chieftaincy Affairs, Honorable Ganiyu Hamzat, was communicated in a letter dated January 20, 2026 to the chairman of the Ijebu Ode local government area, instructing the Ajiwale Kingmakers Council and the Fashembuwa ruling house to immediately halt their work until further notice. The Ajiwale stool has been vacant since the death of Oba Sikiru Adetona in 2025, after a 65-year reign that elevated the prestige of the position across Yoruba land. Applications for the new monarch reportedly included dozens of aspirants, but officials and security interlocutors raised concerns that unresolved petitions and potential tensions could compromise the traditional process. In addition to the government's suspension directive, the Department of State Services (DSS) invited nominees for security screening, underscoring the heightened scrutiny surrounding what is considered one of southwestern Nigeria's most revered traditional institutions. Former Vice President Atiku Abubakar remains widely seen by some political analysts and commentators as the most experienced contender for the Africa Democratic Congress (ADC) presidential ticket ahead of the 2027 general election. But one influential political figure has urged him to forego his ambition for the greater good of Nigeria's opposition party. Dr. Hakim Baba Ahmed, a former special advisor on political matters to the president, said during a televised interview that Atiku's stature and national reach position him strongly as a potential ADC standard bearer should the party hold a national convention to choose its candidate. Baba Ahmed noted that Atiku's experience in Nigerian politics and his ability to draw support across diverse regions make him a formidable contender within the coalition-backed party. However, Baba Ahmed argued that the most impactful contribution Atiku could make at this stage would be to withdraw from contesting and allow the opposition space to forge fresh leadership and a broader coalition. He suggested that stepping aside would signal a break from what he described as the recycling of long-standing political figures and could help renew public confidence in Nigeria's political process. The comments also reflected concerns about the internal dynamics of the ADC, where multiple high-profile politicians are vying for prominence ahead of 2027. And that's all we have in the news update on Papyrus Global TV. I am Christiana Babayo. Thanks for joining us.